Thanks to the coronavirus, this season of Comic-Cons has been largely ruined, but DC decided to create their own virtual fan event instead of making big announcements at San Diego Comic-Con. This DC event was called DC FanDome, and we're going to talk about what went down. I'm Clayburn.
And I'm Nikhil.
So DC's FanDome, it really gave us a lots of stuff to talk about, several updates: Wonder Woman, Batman, Shazam, Suicide Squad, video games, comics, movies, TV shows. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty packed day.
It was, yeah. They did a really good job of kind of replicating that Comic-Con feel to it.
Yeah, I thought that it was a good virtual event. I think in particular what I liked was the FanDome thing, which, previously the name sounded kind of silly. And I wasn't expecting too much. I was like, DC FanDome, that's weird. But the gimmick of the FanDome was that they actually created a 3D CGI dome, like a stadium dome, which actually worked really well because it took away from the normal Zoom style talking heads that we're used to for pretty much everything these days. Even standard talk shows are done that way. And so this idea of just having them virtually standing on it's kind of like a holodeck or something and being beamed together into the FanDome, along with the great artwork that they put up in that. I liked it. It was a nice touch.
Yeah, it was really cool. I like that they did all this fan outreach. It was pretty nice.
Yeah. Were there any downsides that you thought to the whole production side of it?
Not really. I mean, everything was pre-recorded, but I guess it kind of had to be when it was so technically complicated to pull off.
I mentioned in our Comic-Con one that it would have been nice to have had more higher produced stuff, kind of like this in a way, because obviously everything even in Comic-Con was pre-recorded, but it was pre-recorded in the Zoom style. So, if you're going to pre-record, you might as well spend a little time doing something a bit cooler than just standing in front of a camera.
Right.
But on the other hand, I guess, there's no reason to not have a live event. I think they could have added, a 5-minute actual live stream into it somewhere every now and then, even if it was just a Zoom talking head. They could still have the green screen background and the cool FanDome CGI.
Yeah.
But they did take questions from fans. Of course, I guess those were pre-screened from I don't know where. But it would have been nice to have some kind of live aspect to it.
Yeah, I guess Comic-Con really set the bar very low. So they did a good job of setting the bar very low.
I don't think that they knocked it out of the park necessarily, but because the bar was set pretty low, they did, I think, raise the bar slightly for what this should be.
Yeah.
They still did have a lot of Zoom panels, but they had them stylized nicely with custom borders and everything, and they fit into their kind of the nice CGI world in some cases. So they had that a nice kind of post-production element to it, which you'd expect them being DC. They're a movie studio. They should be able to handle that kind of thing. But at the same time, I think there's still a lot more that could be done better. So this is sort of like the new minimum bar.
Yeah, that's true. And I think some of the live events would have really put a lot of pressure on them that they didn't really need to have. So this kind of let them kind of make sure they had everything right and everything ready to go. Otherwise, they could have had the danger of falling into that stereotype of, DC kind of messes everything up.
Yeah, it's best just to not fall flat on your face, and in that regard, they succeeded. Was there anything particular, what was would you say would be the biggest news for you personally that came out of it?
The trailers. I think the Batman trailer, the trailer for the movie called The Batman, stole the show. That was incredible.
Was that the Batmobile in it that we got to see?
I think it was. One of the things I liked about it was really dark. Do you remember early 90s movies, when special effects weren't that great? A lot of the movies were just really dark and everyone would be in the dark because they were kind of hiding.
Yeah, it felt like 1980s, and even the car, I'm not a car guy, so I don't know what it was, but it looked like like a Dodge Charger or something like that.
Yeah.
That literally just had like a jet engine put on the back. So it didn't look like a Batmobile because there was nothing Bat-like about it other than it being black and slight bit of curves in the back from the look of it. Of course, we only had the one shot, so who knows, maybe that was the first incarnation of the Batmobile, and maybe he adds more Bat components to it later, or that is what it is. And maybe it's just going that realistic route.
Mm-hmm. One of the missed opportunities, I think, is that I've heard so the rumor is that this movie is supposed to be taking place in present day, and I kind of wish that they would set it in like the 70s, so it could be part of the Joker movie's continuity.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a big missed opportunity.
Yeah, that would have been nice. I feel like DC is going to drop the ball there anyway. They had a huge hit with Joker, but I don't see them capitalizing that on any meaningful way. I know we mentioned before that what they should do is perhaps create a whole alternate universe there that's like the R-rated superhero universe, and do that more dark and whatever they want to do, violent, and then they can still keep the more family-friendly universe alive as well. And I do think the Batman would have been a good opportunity for that.
Right. I heard a rumor that they're making like a sequel to the Joker, and also a couple other movies that are set in that world, but they're not Batman movies. They're going to be like a Two-Face movie and like Penguin or Riddler or some
just go through all of the enemies and give them their own take on Joker. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, at least they're doing something, but I think they could have started something much better and bigger there that probably would have been successful. Were there any other trailers that you particularly liked?
So the other big news that kind of leaked earlier in the week was that Ben Affleck is returning. And he's coming back in the Flash movie.
Yeah, it sounds like everyone's returning.
Yeah.
Hopefully Val Kilmer too, but I didn't hear anything about him.
Oh, that's right. I wouldn't be surprised if you got a small cameo.
I don't know that he could play Batman looking like he looks now, but
hasn't he put on a lot of weight?
Yeah, I think so. He's getting up there in age, but I think he could have just give him some role, give him let him be a bus driver or something and go by and have a nice cameo.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll take care of him somehow.
Yeah, as long as they don't put George Clooney in it. That would be an insult if they got George Clooney but left out Val Kilmer.
They might. Depends how popular this thing gets.
So I can't not mention Shazam. Did you see the Shazam panel?
I actually missed that one, so you got to fill me in.
So this was amazing all around. So first off, they did do the Zoom style where they had the cast from Shazam as like talking heads there, but the border around it, they had it labeled as Shazoom. So that's pretty funny. Already just right off the bat, because of that pun, it's just amazing. But the more important news, I think, is that we totally called it with Sinbad. He came into the Zoom call for Shazam on the panel there, and he announced that he's going to have a significant role in the sequel.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So I mean, we talked about this in our Shazam episode that people think that Sinbad was in a movie called Shazam playing a genie. And that because of that, he should actually play a genie in the Shazam sequel.
Yes, that's what we said. Yeah.
Now it looks like that could be a possible reality.
No
of course, he didn't specifically say, what his role in the movie is going to be. Is it going to be a genie or not? We don't know. And the other side of it is, there's a pretty good chance it could have all just been a joke, just for the panel.
I don't think so. You think so? I think Warner Brothers is watching this podcast and making their decisions based on our conversations.
Yeah, and they clearly have time travel technology because we made that I think in like early August, and I'm pretty sure the sequel's already been in production, so they had to get on that pretty quick. Yeah, so now I guess we'll have to wait for more and more information there and an update to see if this Sinbad thing is a reality or not, because they played it as kind of a joke in the panel. He mentioned the history there with people thinking he was already in a movie called Shazam. But he did say that he's going to have a significant role in the movie, and it's hard to tell if he was joking purely or if his role in it itself is real, but also tongue in cheek.
So are people going to get upset now? Oh, I've already seen this movie, and just skip it.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, Sinbad's in this. I've seen this one. Yeah, and of course, I guess the name is going to be Fury of the Gods. That was the big another big reveal there. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one. The Shazam movie will be cool, whether it has Sinbad or not, but let's have our fingers crossed that Sinbad's in it.
Yeah. Do they have a release date on that yet?
I didn't hear.
Okay.
I don't imagine anything has release dates yet.
Well, I mean, some of them do, but they're just like flexible. Like the Batman's supposed to come out in October of next year.
Yeah, the ones that we had heard, like every time they mentioned a release date on the panels or the things that they were doing, they'd always like add hopefully.
Yeah.
So we'll see. They have a plan. That was right. The on the Batman trailer, I think the end of it had the release date as like 2021 with a question mark, which obviously is an allusion to the Riddler,
Right?
But
right,
also
right.
a question mark because we don't know. Maybe not. We'll see.
So do you know who that villain was that they were showing in the trailer? Was that the Riddler or was that someone else?
I don't remember if they showed the actual villain, but they showed the riddles in the envelopes.
Right.
So the Riddler's going to be the villain. I don't. Oh, they showed Catwoman a few times. Yeah. Although I don't know if it's fair to call her a villain. I guess, but she's kind of a villain. But the main villain, I guess, is going to be the Riddler, played by Paul Dano of a lot of things, but I know him best from There Will Be Blood.
Oh, okay.
He's a very weird, creepy looking kid. I guess he's not a kid anymore. He probably grew up in the last 10 years or so. But now he's going to be the Riddler apparently, which I think is probably a good fit. He definitely has that down in terms of playing kind of psychopaths.
The one thing I liked about it, and this kind of ties back into our podcast from last week, was that it was very comic book accurate, which kind of goes back to our conversation last week, where it's like if no one's read any of the source material, that means nothing to them. But
yeah,
it was very, very comic book accurate.
Yeah, and I don't really know the source material all that much, but I did hear in the panel the guy was talking about how they are going back to how Batman is a great detective, and that's like the main thing about it, which I guess is true that it was called Detective Comics, so that's probably makes sense. But it is true in the movies you never really see too much detective work from Batman. Mostly it's about the gadgets, and he's good at like fighting and using gadgets. Yeah. And there's a little bit of detective work, but even then it's kind of reliant on the gadgets more or less, like when Bale's Batman uses the sonar stuff to find things. And then Val Kilmer, of course, just properly figuring out the riddles, which I wouldn't really say is a detective work because the riddles were sent to him to figure out. So to me, a detective is more like Sherlock Holmes. You go and you find the clues yourself, not have them mailed to you as part of a joke.
Yeah. Well, Christian Bale did get a fingerprint off of a bullet. A busted bullet. Yeah.
So that's straight from the source material there. Yeah, I forgot about that. He recreated the bullet.
That's straight from a certain part of someone's anatomy.
What about any of the Suicide Squad stuff? Like, I'm surprised that's even still a thing because of just how terrible Suicide Squad was originally.
Yeah,
but
me too.
I guess Harley Quinn was very popular, and so they're really milking that property, spinning her off into her own thing. And now there's apparently a Suicide Squad video game that's coming up, which had a nice trailer. I never really got too much into these video games like Arkham Asylum and the DC video games much. So I don't know if I would actually play it. It's probably not my kind of thing. But the opening trailer was pretty cool. Yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it. It was really cool. Same thing here. I'm not really big into video games. The only thing I can say is that they have had a pretty heavy influence on the way characters are portrayed in other media. Like the Batman, what's it called? Assault on Arkham or something like that? That video game was very influential in the design for like Batman v Superman and Justice League and even the Batman, and so that they've had influences coming out of those, so they are very popular.
Yeah, they seem pretty huge. I certainly see a lot of talk about these games online. I'm just not that much of a gamer, or the games I do play though are strictly like Minecraft that takes all my time basically. So I don't have a lot of time to play other games, but they look cool. Like I've seen the Batman Arkham one, and I've seen screenshots of the PS4 Spider-Man, which looks pretty cool too. It's like Grand Theft Auto for Spider-Man. But I just don't really have time to play it, and I also don't have a PlayStation, so can't play that one anyway.
That doesn't help.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna buy a PlayStation just for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Maybe Bizarro Superman, but not Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. What did you think of the Snyder Cut trailer? Did you see that one?
I didn't watch it, but I'm not interested.
Oh, really?
I mean, I'll watch it when it comes out, but I don't like Zack Snyder's take on any of this, because he doesn't understand Superman. Like, there's no point in Superman if he's going to be, sad, depressed, and not someone who believes in humanity. He doesn't stand for hope, justice, the American way, all of that. So it just doesn't work. And I don't think that, obviously there's studio involvement there, and there's a lot of stuff that made those movies not work. But I don't think that giving it all to Zack Snyder would have fixed it. In fact, I think this is just going to double down on a lot of the things that didn't work about it to begin with.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I'm actually like very excited about the Snyder Cut, but I did not like Man of Steel. I did not like Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
I still need to see the director's cut, which I hear is better, but I am very excited about the Snyder Cut. And I think it's like just the level of like fan excitement and just the way that like this whole thing has really changed the whole model of filmmaking and fan engagement and like the studio's ability to respond to something. It's just so groundbreaking that I find the whole thing fascinating.
It's more of a historical interest. Yeah, from that perspective, I can see, because like I am going to watch it. I don't expect to like it though, but hopefully it does make some sense. And but ultimately, like this, I don't think that the Snyder vision is what I want for DC characters.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I feel like part of the reason that like DC even does things like this is to get fan input. Like, do you remember the whole thing with the Sonic the Hedgehog? That movie, the trailer came out and he looked really weird and everyone hated it, and like the internet went nuts. And so then they changed it. Everyone liked the new design. They put out the movie and it did really well. So I kind of feel like they want feedback from fans. They want fan engagement to a certain extent.
Yeah, but I don't know. This isn't a superficial element though. Like the Snyder issue isn't just like he picked the costume. And that's part of it. The costume for Superman is also wrong. It doesn't have his bright colors, but that's not the only thing. So like if you released a poster and you had the wrong, you had Superman in his dark costume, people could say, wait a minute, this isn't Superman. He's supposed to look, happier and brighter. Then you think, okay, well, let's change the costume. That's fine. But the plot and all the writing and the personality and everything about the movie is really wrong in that sense. So I don't really know. Like I think that the only reason they're really doing this is HBO Max. They just know that they have a hardcore group of fans to reach out, and they'll subscribe to the thing. And that's the way subscription works, is that you can have the most popular thing in the world, like Netflix has all these Adam Sandler movies that nobody likes but everybody watches. They always have a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, yet the numbers are always that everyone watches them. And so everyone watches them, sure, but nobody is paying money to Netflix because they want to watch the Adam Sandler movies. Instead they're paying for their favorite niche shows.
Right.
And so this is one of those, is that HBO Max is going to bring in all those hardcore Snyder fans. They're going to come and they're going to pay for that. And then in the meantime, they'll have other content that'll bring other people in as well.
Right. And I think it will. I think this is going to be like the crown jewel for HBO Max. And I also predict that by the time the Snyder Cut comes out, they're going to rebrand HBO Max. I think they're going to call it like Warner Max or something else, because the numbers for HBO Max so far are really bad.
Yeah, it is kind of bad for them, the bad branding, because obviously they had a lot of strength in the brand in terms of HBO already as a streaming service and a paid service, paid cable channel. So the idea of just like converting your HBO subscription into an online one makes sense. But Warner has so much more content beyond HBO, and the name doesn't really communicate that. When you think like why is DC stuff on HBO? It doesn't make sense. Why are these movies coming out on HBO instead of, it should just be Game of Thrones and Watchmen and these things, And so as it grows, I guess I do think that them changing the brand probably would make sense, unless they really want to focus on the HBO thing instead and take the angle as kind of rebranding HBO as more than just a premium subscription channel, but instead HBO is like a Netflix.
Right. I think they may have wanted to do that, but I think it's kind of failed. They got 4 million subscribers at launch, which is not good. If you think about, by comparison, Disney Plus already has 60 million subscribers within 6 months. So it's not good.
They're going to need a lot more than Snyder's Justice League, I think, to compete.
Yeah, but I think that's going to drive a lot of business. Like, even for me, that's when I'm going to sign up. And I think there's a lot of appreciation there too. So I think the people are going to pay and sign up. They're not just going to like pirate it online. They're actually going to go through the appropriate channels out of like an appreciation for actually being listened to.
Yeah, I think there is going to be a big element of like vindication for a lot of fans.
Yeah.
But again, they're still just a minority, so they're going to need Warner's going to need a lot more people to sign on to this service. And I don't know if they have a lot of content outside of the DC stuff that will drive a lot of that, just because everything else is fairly formulaic movies for them and TV shows, even though HBO makes great content.
Well, I heard they're going to make a series based off of the Batman, like the new Matt Reeves movie. So it's going to be focusing around like the Gotham police, and it's going to take place prior to that movie.
Yeah, that sounds interesting too. I think that'll be a fun period of Batman to explore as well. I guess they also have Teen Titans, whatever those are.
Oh,
you know much about Teen Titans? That's apparently pretty popular, right?
So there's a series on the DC Universe, which is another streaming service that's going to go away, or probably going to get folded into HBO Max. So I've never seen it.
Yeah, I remember commercials for it, like on Cartoon Network or something, and I remember it being a cartoon, and they had these like teenage versions of a lot of superheroes, led by like Robin or something.
Okay.
And then now, like the panel that I saw was like, it's like a live action kind of show that they're doing.
Right. Yeah. So there's two. The one I was just talking about is the live action show, and I think it's just called Titans. And then you're right. There's the animated series that's very much like targeted towards kids. Yeah,
I guess one of these days we should just do an episode all about Teen Titans, because that's something that I don't know anything about. I like, why are they teens? I don't understand. And then like, is that Superman? Like, is Superman one of them, or is it like a separate version of a person who's also from Krypton but a teenager?
Yeah, I think it's a show like geared towards kids, and it's like, everyone who's young is in this program.
Yeah, but that's what I guess didn't make sense, is like, why is Superman here? He's not young. And some other characters too, where it's like they've just basically made like little versions of other superheroes, which I assume are just some kind of spin-off character or something. And then in this thing, whatever they were showing, the trailer for it, there's apparently the teenage Superman has a super dog.
Oh, of course.
Which is funny.
Because why not?
He like, there's a dog in the scene, and he like shoots laser eyes at the burglar or whoever it is breaking in. And so I don't understand that. I guess the dog is also from Krypton, maybe. And then, so that means it can fly and shoot lasers out of its eyes, which seems really dangerous because, it's a dog. Like, dogs, they don't have the greatest morals. They just, want to eat and hump things, I guess. So
sounds like a marketing play.
Yeah, I'm sure there's just it's popular, I guess. I think I saw on Twitter, like people, whatever the dog's name is, I thought I saw people like happy about it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. This Teen Titans thing is probably pretty popular as well, and probably bring in a lot of, viewers. It's just maybe not our demographic.
Right, yeah.
I guess now is a good time for a quick ad break, or it would be if we had any advertisers. We do have a Patreon, though. You want to tell the listeners about that?
Sure. So it's patreon.com/WUTR.
Pronounced Wutter.
Exactly. But it's spelled WUTR.
Wutter.
Anyway, people who like our show, they can go to Patreon and support the show. If you donate $3 a month, you'll get a call out in our end credits. And for $10 a month, you'll get the credits, call out, and access to our monthly Q&A live streams.
Very cool. And with that support, we can hopefully make the podcast a lot better. The audience has been growing, so we really need to upgrade to some professional equipment.
And hire a professional editor.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that's it for the ad for now. Please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Wutter.
WUTR.
And support the show if you enjoy listening each week. Now let's get back to whatever we were talking about. Yeah, I think for me, the things I'm most excited about is going to be Wonder Woman and Shazam. Like those two are probably the top ones. I didn't hear anything about Aquaman. I did see there was an Aquaman related panel, but I missed it.
Yeah.
Are there any Aquaman related updates, or is it just them kind of hanging out?
Yeah, nothing big. Because that movie is still a ways away. I think that's coming out in the end of 2022. So it's still a ways away.
Yeah, end of 2022? Question mark.
Yeah, question mark.
Yeah, Aqua Riddler.
The other question mark is, do you think Wonder Woman's actually going to come out in a month and a half in theaters?
Yeah. What movie did you say was going to be the one that you went to watch as soon as it's out? Black Widow? Okay, so you'll return to theaters when Black Widow's out.
Yeah, that's the plan.
I guess Tenet is out, right?
It's coming out in 2 weeks on the 3rd or the 4th.
I thought it was already out. Is it out in other markets or?
No, I think theaters are still closed.
All right. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not planning on watching.
Did you see the trailer? They put out a new trailer for that.
No, I don't watch. I try not to watch trailers anyway, which is also why I don't really care for these kind of events, because like I like the panel aspect of it. It's fun to hear the actors talk, particularly if it's something that they're talking about things that are in the past. Mm-hmm. But I don't like whenever they're teasing future stuff, because I'm already a fan. Like, I'm already going to watch it. Even Justice League, Snyder's Justice League, I'm not even a fan of that, but I'm going to watch it when it comes out. Mm-hmm. So I don't need to be teased on it. I don't need to be shown trailers. Same with the Batman. Like, I would rather be surprised in the theater to see everything versus, seeing the actual trailer.
Okay.
And so I wish these kind of events, obviously they need these big updates and reveals, because that's what drives the press and a lot of the fan engagement there and sharing and all of that. But I would prefer if it was just them talking about the process and if they had fun or not, and just kind of hanging out as people, and maybe talking about some of the past work that they did, rather than just here's what's coming up. Because I like to be surprised.
Oh, okay. I remember, like, you and I have seen movies together, and whenever like a Star Wars trailer comes out, you're like closing your eyes and trying to not trying to avoid
because how cool would it be to go to Shazam 2 and you're sitting there in the theater, and then halfway through Sinbad shows up as a genie.
Oh yeah.
And you know that night just came out of nowhere, and if not to not expect that now, of course, we know that's going to happen going into this.
Yeah.
So it kind of kills the moment.
Yeah, kind of.
So yeah, I like not having not viewing any trailers really if I can avoid it. But I figure for this stuff, like, who cares? It's kind of popcorn movies at the end of the day. So it's fine. But yeah, I try not to, especially if there's going to be something that's supposed to be like a big secret or reveal, like with Star Wars. I did eventually learn that Palpatine would be back, but I would have rather just not have known.
Man. That was kind of a big surprise. I didn't know that going in.
Well, and I only knew it because, like, of headlines and stuff. Like, you see people talking about it, and it's just like, why? Well, who cares? Just don't say anything. Let it be a surprise. I don't understand the need to say, like, everyone's about to watch the movie. You're going to see the movie in a couple weeks. Why do you need to go on Twitter and say what you kind of heard about the movie? Of course, going in, I wasn't sure it was certain. I think I had heard that it was a rumor or something. But also just knowing Disney and everything, I felt like, well, it's probably pretty likely. Just like with the new Jurassic Park that's coming out, we'll apparently have Sam Neill back as well.
Okay.
And so, whatever. I guess they also told us Jeff Goldblum was going to be in it, and he was sort of barely in it. If you remember, he basically just was a narration. Talking to a congressional panel or something at the beginning of the movie, and that was it. So you can't really trust it even whenever these characters are showing up again.
I want to see Jeff Goldblum in the next Thor movie, though. He should come back for that, or in Guardians or something.
Do you think he managed to reposition himself as the ruler of the slave rebellion?
Definitely, yes.
So he's back to ruling that planet with, this time,
yes.
He's the ruler of the slaves.
And not slaves, prisoners with jobs.
Oh yeah, prisoners with jobs, yeah.
Do you get that reference?
Yes. Yeah, that was a great movie, so I'm looking forward to that sequel. But again, I don't need to know anything about it ahead of time. I'll watch it when it comes out. You don't have to have a big virtual Comic-Con thing to convince me to go. So that's the other thing. I don't really understand. I guess, it uses the fans to create hype, and then that hype bleeds into the mainstream.
Exactly.
But the fans are going to go watch this stuff anyway. So it's weird that there's so much effort put marketing to fans when we're going to watch it anyway. Just, it's basically just kind of like a sneaky way to get the mainstream audience aware of it and talking about it and thinking that it's cool because these crazy fans won't shut up about it.
I'm always a big fan of the first trailer. Like I want to know what like the tone is. I think that's kind of the thing that I really want to get out of a trailer. So like with the the new trailer for the Batman, like that really said that's a brand new a brand new universe, like a brand new series. So being able to like see kind of what the tone is, kind of the direction they're headed in, kind of what the look and feel of it is, that's something that I want to see. But I agree with you. Sometimes, the second and third trailer, they give away too much. And then you're sitting there in the movie and you're waiting for a scene that you've seen in the trailer. And that kind of ruins the experience a little bit because something's coming. You know
when it's coming. You're like, oh, this is that twist, or this is whenever he enters into the scene.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't like that. But I do think that, had I seen the trailer to Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, I wouldn't have wanted to go watch them. Just because I knew that I would know that the tone was off by the trailers.
Okay.
So if you don't show me the trailer, then I end up going and watching a movie that I probably don't like. But that's fine too, just because sometimes trailers can be misleading and you don't know anyway. A movie could be great and have a terrible trailer, or it's like Downsizing, for instance. It's not a superhero movie, but that movie Downsizing with Mark Wahlberg or Matt Damon, one of them.
Oh yes, yeah. I know.
The trailer plays it off as like a funny, haha, honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of thing. Like, it's hilarious. He's a little person now, and he's in this little world, and he's just having all these fun hijinks as a small person, chasing down a giant cucumber or whatever. And so, you go into the movie thinking, okay, this is just a nice, easy, fun movie, nothing to think about. And in reality, it was a movie that was about like socioeconomics and slave trades, and like it was about people who they're forced to shrink themselves out of financial obligation. Basically, they can't afford to live a life to support themselves as normal sized humans, so they shrink themselves so that their financial impact will be lesser. And then third world countries are doing this to people and having them work in like inside televisions and like electronics as like slaves, basically, to put them together and screw in components and all of this. And so there's just like this whole plot of Mark Wahlberg or Matt Damon, whichever one it was, saving all of these trafficked slaves, basically, workers, third world workers. And you would never have guessed that from the way that the movie was marketed. And I think it still ended up being a good movie. Like, I enjoyed it, but I think it was pretty much like critically panned. But I think a lot of it was because of the expectation. Like, you go into the movie thinking it's going to be fun, and even the start of it is kind of fun. It has Jason Sudeikis and I think Kristen Wiig. So it's like plays it up at the beginning is like, oh, this is going to be fun and hilarious, and then it's not any of that. And so it is kind of like having the rug pulled out from under you.
Yeah, I think that might be a fault of like bad marketing more than marketing itself. Like, I don't.
It's always the fault of marketing. Marketing is just always a problem. There's never good marketing.
No. What I mean is that's not true. That's not true. What I mean is, as someone who works in marketing, what I mean is that I don't think it was accurately portrayed. Versus, there shouldn't have been any portrayal. I think that if it was accurately portrayed, you probably would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Marketing though is inherently dishonest. Like, it's not there to portray something as accurate. It's there to portray something as enticing. Otherwise, you'd have Subway ads that would say, "This is a sandwich, it's $5." Instead, they try to play up the angle of this is healthy and fresh, and that's what marketing is always going to do. And they do the same with movies, which means a lot of times, you get a movie, they do the focus group or whatever, and they realize like, I don't know if people are going to like this movie, or this movie, there's not really an audience for it. and they try to make it seem like something it's not, just in order to get the ticket sales.
Yeah, sometimes, but then sometimes the focus groups are kind of like what we saw at DC FanDome yesterday was that was kind of like a giant focus group. It's like, hey, look at kind of the direction that we're going in, like as we're midway through production or about to start production, and give us your feedback now. That's what I kind of got the feeling that yesterday was. It kind of felt like a giant focus group.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see them really reacting to fan engagement. I think you're overestimating the Snyder Cut here, because I don't think that the Snyder Cut was them finally like caving to fans and saying, oh, you're right, we should do this the right way. Instead, I think it was, hey, these rubes over here will subscribe to anything if we put Snyder's name on it. And we need subscribers for our new streaming service. So they're not doing it out of any kind of respect for the fans. And in fact, I think the opposite is true, that they're literally just taking advantage of these fans because they know that they're gonna buy the product ultimately. They're like, there's clearly a market for this. Let's make the thing, and it'll be, make a lot of news and get us a lot of engagement and subscribers.
Well, I also think part of it is that like the fandom was kind of split. Not fandom was kind of split. Like half of the people really liked Zack Snyder's vision, half of the people really liked like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, the lighter tone and the kind of direction that the studio was moving in. And they kind of saw.
But when you say split, though, like it's not a 50-50 split here.
It's not a 50-50
like 10% of people who like the Snyder Cut versus pretty much everyone liking Aquaman and Wonder Woman. Certainly Wonder Woman. I think that was their highest rated film.
Yeah, in terms of dollars, yes, but not in terms of like fan engagement or people who are talking about the movie. So like it's hard for someone to like be vocally loud, oh, I like Aquaman and like this new kind of direction they're moving in, without getting pushback on the internet from people who like the darker tone and the Snyder kind of vision. So I think the Snyder Cut really like appeases them and kind of brings them on board to the direction that the studio
it'll
wants
at least
to
stop the internal war. So they're like,
exactly.
You have your thing, now shut up and stop attacking our moviegoers.
Exactly. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So do you think obviously this was mostly predicated on the coronavirus outbreak, but it is kind of created like something a bit new. Do you think that this might stay a norm moving forward, regardless of infectious diseases or not?
Oh, the fandom.
People doing their own kind of, even if it's not DC, but like Marvel, would they prefer moving forward to do basically live events in person, which obviously is a huge expense probably compared to something like this. But the FanDome, it seemed successful. There was a lot of engagement online. People seemed, a lot of press articles, a lot more than, for instance, coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, which is probably just due to the fact that there was a lot more to announce, given that they were themselves a studio. And so when you didn't have a lot of announcements coming out of Comic-Con, there wasn't much to write about. But the FanDome was, I think, pretty successful. It got a lot of people talking, probably a lot of engagement. I don't know about merchandise sales and all of that. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. But if it was successful, if they view this as a good thing, do you think that next year they do it again and it would be virtual, or do you think that they would do it again but live?
That's a really good question. I think that's a really good question. I don't know. They might do both, because the thing is, like, what they did yesterday really allowed anyone and everyone to kind of participate. You didn't have to be in a certain part of the country. So they got a wider audience yesterday participating and giving feedback and having a voice yesterday compared to Comic-Con. And DC did spend a lot of money in building up this infrastructure. So I would be surprised if it was a one and done. Yeah. Because, they spent a lot of money on it.
Once you have it built, though, the infrastructure, you can kind of, you can use it again pretty easily. As opposed to a live event, which would cost quite a bit to put on. I kind of feel a combination would work well, where like I said, this one needed some live panels of some sort. It doesn't have to be for the full day, the full 8 hours or however much. But if they did basically do the same thing that they did now for 6 hours, and then have that culminate in like a 2-hour live stream of like 2 or 3 different headliner panels, basically. Even if you did it in a live area and sold tickets to an auditorium or something, then that could be really cool, because then you'd have people who are paying to be there at this exclusive event, but at the same time it's streamed for free around the world, so you get that full worldwide reach out of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there'll be some sort of combination there too. And I think that like the studios have kind of wanted to do their own thing. Like Marvel successfully did it in, I think, 2014 or 2015 when they announced their Phase 3 slate. Like they had kind of their own convention. Disney has their own D23 convention. So like I think they kind of want to move away from being reliant on someone else, and that someone else, unfortunately for Comic-Con, is Comic-Con. And I think they kind of want to own the message a little bit more. And when they go to Comic-Con, they have to compete with everyone else, right? So they're competing for headlines. Whereas yesterday, DC owned the weekend.
Yeah, even though it was funny, when I checked on Twitter, one of the trending topics was Marvel.
Oh, was it? For what?
Yeah, and I don't even know. Like, I couldn't really understand why Marvel was trending. At first, when I saw it, I thought, oh, this is funny. Did Marvel like make an update just to like throw off FanDome? You know, like make some big announcement. But I think all that happened was maybe in regards to FanDome, like some conversation started up separately that possibly led into, you know, Marvel related stuff. Okay. And so just randomly people happened to be talking about, you know, Marvel stuff going on. So, yeah, it was mostly everything else, though. All the trending topics was like, especially Batman. There's a lot of Justice League and Batman, and occasionally like some Wonder Woman stuff. But Batman really, I think, dominated the night. Because
that's actually one of the things that I was actually most excited about, ironically, is when they announced both, not Val Kilmer, what's his name? Ben Affleck, and when, what's his name? The original Batman. Why am I blanking?
Adam West or
no. 89 Batman.
Michael Keaton.
Yeah. So when they announced Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck are both coming back for the Flash movie that's supposed to come out in summer 2022.
And which one is playing the Flash?
Ezra Miller.
No, I mean, so Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck.
None of them. They're both playing different versions of Batman in the same movie. So you know Marvel's going to want to compete with that. And hopefully bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland in the same movie. In Doctor Strange too.
In the Spider-Verse.
And most likely it'll be in Doctor Strange too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be funny.
Yeah, which is already directed by Sam Raimi. That's probably the movie I'm most excited about out of everything.
Or I guess they could bring Ryan Reynolds in as Deadpool as well, right? The old version.
You know, that's not a bad idea.
I wonder if they would bring both. They could bring like the new version and the old version into it.
What do you mean the new version?
The new version of Deadpool as he is in the Deadpool movies currently, and then the old version is what he was in Wolverine.
Oh,
remember?
I see. Yeah, they could do that.
They could bring them both in. I think that would be funny to see Ryan Reynolds side by side with himself.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, so does Marvel have any plans to do something similar to this?
Probably. But see, it's all speculation at this point, but I would think so. Because so back when Warner Brothers announced they were going to do Batman versus Superman, that's when Marvel said, oh, hang on, we're going to do Civil War. And then Civil War ended up being, in my opinion, one of the best movies in the whole MCU. So, you know, we have Batman v Superman to thank for that.
So Marvel has so they have like a history of let's just copy DC but do it good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
I think overall it was a pretty enjoyable experience, and it probably worked out pretty well for them. I kind of hope that we see it again next year, even though, you know, it's not really my thing to get a lot of these updates, but it seems successful and a lot of fun. And there could be nice to have like a live component to it, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
And apparently in September, they're still going to do something else again, some kind of follow-up.
Oh, yeah, they are. I think they got too many signups, so they're going to do another day of this in September. I'm a little confused as to the details, but...
yeah, it seems like that might be, I don't know, kind of a letdown, because it's probably just going to be stuff people forget about.
Yeah.
And don't pay attention to. Because like this was the big stuff.
This was the big
and
stuff,
they already said it. And now everyone's going to forget that something else is coming along. But I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And if it's worthwhile, I guess we'll mention it on our podcast. And if not, maybe we'll just tweet about it or something.
Where can they find us on Twitter?
Twitter.com/Water Podcast.
Water?
Yeah, Water.
Water?
No, Water. Water, not water.
Oh.
Water. As in, what are you doing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, WUTR, Water.
Nice. I'll looking forward to the tweets.
Yeah, we live tweeted a bit about the FanDome. Mostly, of course, my favorite piece was the Sinbad genie. I feel like in the way that Zack Snyder fans are vindicated for the release of the Snyder Cut, that's how I feel with this Sinbad in Shazam 2.
Oh, awesome.
Because, we put out that call earlier in this month. We said, got to make it happen. And I guess DC's listening because I guess they do listen to the fans after all. Because they...
Especially the cool fans like us.
Well, look at that. You made it to the end of this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or whatever you listen to podcasts on. You can also find us on Twitter and Facebook at WUTR Podcast. If you like the show and want to support it, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/WUTR.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for more superhero stuff.